Welcome to the first episode of the CX Architect podcast. I'm your host, Zach Hoskins. For those of you who might not know what CX means, it stands for Client or Customer Experience. My goal for this podcast is to bring to light businesses who are truly leading the way in a client-centric manner. We will unpack how they are doing that and give you some ideas on how you might be able to implement that into your business. We'll dive into the background stories of businesses, their successes, challenges, and experiences, and view those through the scope of how the client experiences the business. I look forward to having you join me on this journey over the coming episodes. Let's dive in. On this episode, I sit down with Joe Everest with Ozark Fence. Ozark Fence is a family-owned and operated fence company in southwest Missouri and has been for over 60 years. They have been protecting your piece of the Ozarks since 1955. I believe you'll get a ton out of my conversation with him, so without further ado, here is my conversation with Joe Everest. Mr. Joe Everest, welcome to the podcast.
Glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you, and even though you kind of had a little snafu getting here, I'm so thankful that you were able to make that happen.
Sure. A lot of life is kind of overcoming difficulties and overcoming them.
No doubt. So one thing that I really want to start off with is if you could just dive into your background.
Sure.
The story of your business, kind of your story as well, if you had any entrepreneurial things growing up or anything kind of growing up that has impacted how you do business today and where your business is now and where it's going in the future.
Sure. So like you said, my name's Joe Everest. I own Ozark Fence and Supply Company here in Springfield. I do a couple other things, but that's the thing I hang my hat on the most. So Ozark Fence Company, before I had owned it, my dad owned it, and before him was my grandfather, and before him was my grandfather's brother-in-law. So we've done fence for quite a while, since 1955. So I've grown up in the business, meaning that, when I was a kid, I was picking up trash out of the lot. And then I graduated into the shop where I helped fabricate gates, and it was all kind of, I came up through the business from the bottom, which gave me a unique experience. Most of the employees that come into our company come in for a purpose, to fill a specific position, whereas I kind of journeyed through most all of the positions. Gave me a unique experience, gave me some insight as to a greater understanding of what I'm asking my guys to do.
Sure.
Just because I've already walked in their proverbial shoes. I've been through what they're going through, and it helps me not over ask them to do anything. I wouldn't ask them to do something I couldn't go do,
Sure.
which is kind of the important thing. You don't want to ask someone something outside their skill set or to go above and beyond what the normal expectations would be, at least not on a daily basis.
Sure. That's awesome. So one thing that I heard in one of your videos that I kind of researched a little, you said that you're a customer service company that happens to sell fences.
That's it.
Can we stick around that and kind of unpack
I'd love
that?
to.
Like what does that mean to you, and what are you trying to communicate there?
Sure. So if you need a fence, you have a lot of choices. We're certainly not the only fence company. And we're not creating a particularly unique product. If you've seen a fence, you know the process of what a fence looks like, what it should do. It's nothing unique. So we feel like the way we set ourselves apart is that we focus purely on customer service, because that's the way we can set ourselves apart from someone else that might build fence. A 6-foot privacy fence is going to be about the same no matter who you buy it from. Now, we like to say ours is a little better. We use higher quality materials, but though that really gets into splitting hairs. But we realized early on, if we can set ourselves apart by creating a better customer experience, that our customers will be better for it. And we're like a lot of brands or a lot of businesses and industries, we're very much driven by word of mouth. So if we can create raving fans of our business, that will only serve us better moving forward. So we do that in a couple ways. We make sure that, first and foremost, communication is key. When you talk to people that have had a bad experience with other companies, it usually breaks down to communications. Let me know when you're planning on being here. Let me know what the expectations for me are. Let me know when you'll be done. Let me know if you hit a bump in the road. Let me know about it first and foremost, and let me know how we're going to overcome it and what the plan is moving forward. In some instances, we probably over communicate. We probably they probably don't really care that the rain on Monday will cause us to become a day behind 2 weeks from now, or that we anticipate it becoming an issue 2 weeks from now.
Sure.
But I'd rather over communicate than under communicate, and that leads back to the customer service, because we really think that people want to know all of the details. Not just, I'll be here 2 months from now to build a fence, and just trust me on that, and I'll be here.
Sure. So you believe that transparency really sets you apart in the communication with the client?
It does. Here's the thing. People love having information. People love to know when you're expected to be there, the process involved in it. A lot of times people love to know the specific steps of building a fence. Things that I would take for granted. You dig the hole, you put the post, you pour the concrete, you wait 2 days, and you come build a fence. A lot of people find that interesting. And that's something that we're trying to do a better job of, is explaining the process. I take it for granted. I've built fence for the last 22 years. It's just what I know. But to an accountant, he's never built fence, so he doesn't know the specific steps, and so communication is a way that we try to transfer that information over, and so that they learn more about it and they kind of understand better what we do, and that helps again the user experience, because now they know what the expectations are. They know that after we set a fence post, we won't be by the next day to finish the fence. Well, because there's concrete involved, and the concrete takes time to cure, et cetera, et cetera. But communication is key. It really is.
Good stuff. All right. So, I guess you kind of covered. So, are there any specific ways that you're specifically trying to maybe surprise or delight your customers? Or is it kind of more just the simple, trying to be open in communication? Or
So, and not to give away secrets here, so if you buy a fence from Ozark Fence, pretend you didn't hear this portion of the podcast. But so one thing we try to do, and not on every project, but I give my foreman the goal of finding something involved in the project, not necessarily regarding fencing, but something that the homeowner needs that we can provide easily while we're there as a thank you. Just a surprise and delight thank you. For example, we had done a fence for a lady whose her backyard, you could tell, was her prized possession. The landscape was meticulous. The yard was mowed consistently. It was perfect. And the fence was going to be the final part. The fence that was there was broken down. It just wasn't looking great. So we were going to kind of be the final piece of the puzzle. So the guys were in there and they were building the fence. And after the project is done, my foreman said, "Hey, listen, just so you know, this is what we did. We found a paver that was cracked. The corner was cracked. Now, we didn't break it, and we didn't run over it with machinery, but it was broken nonetheless. So there was a Lowe's that was a couple minutes away. So while his guys were doing the prep work, and he might not have had so much to do, he went ahead and ran to Lowe's and picked up that particular paver, swapped it out, didn't say anything. And this is the key to it, is we don't leave a note, we don't say, hey, by the way, because we want it to be a surprise. And so that it came back around. It took a little while, but probably a month went by, and I got a voicemail saying, this is so-and-so, if you could please call me. So I called her back, and she said, hey, did you guys replace one of my walking pavers through my backyard? And I said, oh, yeah. The guys saw that it was broken. It's obvious that you really, you take your backyard very seriously, so they wanted to go ahead and, as a thank you, replace that for you. The paver was $10, $20 maybe. Like, if it was a really crazy one, maybe it's $20.
Sure.
The guy's time, it was a half hour of his time. It was, so all in, under $100.
Sure.
She has not stopped commenting about this paver. We're all the time tagged in Facebook recommendations. She's all the time just dropping us in conversation. Hey, you've got to try at Ozark Fence, or these guys. We've created our biggest cheerleader ever. Yeah. Just by this one thing. And so that's something that we try to do. Now, not every project's going to have an opportunity like that. Most of them don't. But my guys, I tell them, I say, hey, listen, keep it under a couple $100. Keep it quick and easy. But if you see an opportunity, you take it. Don't call me and check it with me. do it. But let me know at the end so I know what happened. But take advantage, act quickly, and just do it while we're there. And as a surprise and delight thank you sort of thing.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. And so I'm curious, where did that come from? Where did that idea come from? How did that manifest and kind of become commonplace now to look for that on all your projects?
So I listened to a gentleman by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk, has a podcast, a YouTube channel. He does a lot of content. But one of the things he had talked about was the thank you economy. He does it a little bit differently in that he uses Twitter to find customers and learn more about them and send them a thank you. We tried that to less success. We weren't as able to find our customers on Twitter. But I thought, well, now wait a minute. We're in their yards. We're at their home. I think it'd be pretty easy. And his is he sends he'll send a jersey or a helmet or something as a thank you, whereas we'd like ours to be more impactful in actually is something that they use day to day. And so we took his idea and tweaked it, changed it, made it our own. But like I say, it's had some good success. Now, one thing you have to be ready for, though, is we'll do some things that we think are a really big deal and never hear back about them. Like they either don't go noticed, or since we don't claim it, since we don't say, hey, we did this thing, they see it, they go, huh, I wonder how that happened. That's weird. And then they move on with their day, and they don't necessarily put two and two together. But first and foremost, it makes us feel good. It makes my guys feel good that they had a positive impact on that customer. It makes me feel good that as a company, we're trying to make somebody's day a little bit better, by just little things. And if we happen to get a pat on the back down the road, I mean, that's icing on the cake. But the key takeaway is it makes us feel good that we're having a positive impact. And like I say, the only requirement is it has nothing to do with fence. I mean, we're there to do fence anyway.
Right.
So it's something that is outside of probably what we have to do. It's obviously not in our purview to change pavers out. But it makes us feel good.
No doubt.
It makes my guys feel good to be able to impact it, to have that leeway, for me to trust them to say, don't call me, don't run it past me, use your best judgment. If you think it will make an impact and it's positive and they're going to love it, do it. Like, if it's $201, don't bug me back. Like, don't feel like you have to run it past me, do it.
Sure.
Like, if it makes an impact, it is all the time justified.
Well, and what a cool culture that kind of creates, that you're allowing that to happen, that they can just, it's kind of, it's just like you said, the thank you economy, just, do it and without, kind of saying that you did it. And then, if someone does come back, that's awesome. But if they don't, you still kind of are getting that. That's great.
Well, the thing is, my guys are usually saying, hey, we should at least leave a thank you. They'll ask me, hey, did the guy from a couple weeks ago, did he let you know? No, I haven't heard. Oh, man. Like, well, no, wait a minute. We're not doing this for the thank you. We're not doing this for the pat on the back. We're doing this because it needed done.
Sure.
And maybe it hasn't been done because they didn't have a way to get it done. Maybe that paver didn't get replaced because pavers are heavy. And the lady was not young. So maybe she had an issue, even if she was young. Maybe she had a health issue where she can't handle that heavy of a paver.
Sure.
And maybe she felt uncomfortable asking someone to do that. So maybe she looks at that paver every day when she goes in her backyard and thinks, I wish I could, but I just can't.
Yeah.
By doing it, maybe we've impacted her life in such a way that she'll never forget about it. But maybe we don't. Like, you can't look for the thank you. That's not why we do it.
Yeah.
And so you definitely could leave a note. Hey, we replaced a paver. But that's almost asking for the thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to ask for the thank you. That's not why we're doing it. We're doing it to make their life better, to make a positive impact, on our lives. That we know that we put a little good out into the world. And the funny thing is, the more good you put in the world, the more good comes back. You can call it karma. You can call it whatever. The more good you put into the universe, the more good stuff happens to you. It is real, and it happens. I mean, we're living proof of it as a company that we put good out into the world and good comes back to us. And in a lot of different ways. The economy's good, so that definitely helps.
Sure.
I mean, we have processes in place to make sure that everything goes correctly, and so the fences always get built right. Maybe not always, but 99% of the times, everything goes right.
Sure.
I mean, we're still human. We don't hire robots. But we follow the plan. We make a fence work. It looks great. We move on. So there's a lot of reasons things go right. And that probably plays a big role in it. But my thing is we put a lot of positive out there. And a lot of positive happens to come back to us. And I really think those two things are related.
That's great. So a lot of positive things being put in, a lot of good being put in. Tell me about a challenge or a failure that you had at a time that, actually maybe, set you up for later success.
Sure,
Talk me
sure.
through.
So we learned a lot about client expectations, about setting the correct client expectations. It used to be that we didn't communicate hardly at all with the customer. We would say, well, we'll be there the third week in September to build a fence. And then the next time they heard back from us was when they saw guys building a fence in their yard. So they had an expectation that, hey, the fence is going to be built today. Well, that's not the process. Like I say, the concrete has to cure. It's a 4 to 5 day process. Even if you said, Joe, I need about 20 feet of fence, it's still a 4-day process. We dig the hole, we set the post, the concrete cures, we finish the fence. It's about 4 days. So there was a lot of negative feedback as to we just didn't set the correct client expectations. We didn't let them know, hey, it's a 4-day process start to finish. We're going to be there on, September the 4th. We're going to finish it on September the 8th. Just random numbers, but
Sure.
It's 4 days start to finish. And now while it is 4 days, you're only going to see us for 2 of those days, the first day and the last day. There's going to be 2 days in between where you don't see us at all. The concrete's curing. We're off building fence elsewhere. We haven't forgotten about you. You are on the calendar. You are in our list. You just won't see us. That coming into the business or coming into the ownership of the business, that was an area that we struggled with, was the communication. Where it was just, there was a lot of misunderstanding as to what the process looks like. And it was completely our fault. We just simply didn't communicate. We didn't let the customer know it's a 4-day process. In some instances, we weren't giving the customer a start date. We were saying it'll be the third week in September. Well, there's 5 work days in the third week in September. So which is it? If I tell you the third week of September, you're going to think I'm going to be there Monday morning. Whereas I'm thinking I'm going to be there maybe Wednesday. Okay, well, so we're already starting off on the wrong foot. We're already starting off. Your expectation is I'm there Monday. My expectation is I'm not going to be there till Wednesday. But even when I show up on Wednesday, in your eyes, I'm late. In your eyes, I was supposed to be there Monday morning, even though my plan wasn't to be there. So we would start a lot of relationships off on the wrong foot. In their eyes, we're started late, and then no matter what we do from that point on, we're always a step behind. So we learned from that, and that's where our communication came from. I say, hey, we have to do it better. So not only do we say the third week in September, when you commit to building this fence, I give you a start date. Now, right now, if it's a wood fence, it's 8 weeks from now. It's a ways in the future. But if we don't get crazy weather in between then and now, if the world doesn't come to an end in the meantime, we'll be there on that day. Like, that's a commitment that we make to you. And then we also communicate that with you through usually about 2 weeks before we come out, I'll give you a call. Say, hey, we're still on schedule to be there. The Friday before, another call. Hey, listen, we're still going to be there. Like I say, if anything, we over-communicate. But if that's my fault, I'll take it. Like, if that's the only thing I do wrong is I over-communicate, we're good.
Sure.
So the obstacle was that, we were starting the customer relationship off on a wrong foot just by not letting them know what our plan was, what the expectations should be. We let the customer create their own expectations, which hardly ever works out well, just because they don't know what the expectations should be. So definitely an obstacle, but the way we overcame it, like I say, was just create a process of communicating with them. Whether it's, usually it's phone calls. We're getting into sending texts. We've done emails in the past, not super successful. I mean, open rates on emails are less than 30% typically. So even if in the header I say, hey, it's Joe from Ozark Fence, and here's your start date, Sometimes it goes in spam, or sometimes they don't check email, but they typically always answer the phone. And so we create a process of communication to where we make sure they're on board with the process, start to finish. They know what the expectation should be. It should be 4 days. Now, if it rains in between the first day and the fourth day, it usually adds a day. But we communicate that in the beginning. I communicate that when I come measure the yard. Before we even have a relationship, a commitment, I say, and just so you know, right now, we're scheduling a new project to start, the first week in October. And once we typically start projects on Monday, Tuesday, finish on Thursday, Friday. So, like you see, it's about a 4-day process, and that's because da-da-da-da-da. So, if nothing else, I'm also helping my competitors. Just so 3 out of 10 is we get about 30% of the work we bid. So 7 out of 10 of the people I meet with, we don't end up building fence for, but I already set that expectation for them so that maybe they aren't frustrated with fencing companies in general when, I help set the expectation ahead of time. Communication is key. It really, really is. A lot of problems can be solved through communication. A lot of problems are only problems because there was a lack of communication. If the customer is notified immediately on something happening and, hey, here's what happened, we did it, our fault, here's our plan for fixing it, here's the resolution, 9 times out of 10 they're fine with it. They just want to know, I'm taking responsibility for it, I have a plan, we're going to execute the plan, and they're fine with it.
Very cool. So a lot of those I would call those front of stage activities where you're directly interacting with the customer or the client. Talk to me a little bit about the backstage, behind the scenes kind of things, like the process of, I'm sure there's some listeners out there that have some of the similar situations that you have with having to keep track of all of those.
Yeah.
What kind of system are you using in the back end that's really facilitating you being able to keep up and keep track of all of these types of communications?
Google Calendar is huge for us. So my foremen they each have an email address that's associated with the Google Calendar. So my wood foreman, he has a Google Calendar account, and when I schedule someone for him first week in October, he gets notified, this customer on the first day of October, you're going to be there. And then on the 5th day or the 4th day, you're also going to be there. And so he's automatically in the loop. If something gets rescheduled, it gets moved, he gets a notification. Now, one thing we're implementing in the near future, is also we're going to go ahead and we're going to email and invite the customer to join that calendar as well. That way they get updates as their start date gets moved. Now, I'm still going to call them. They're still going to get a one-on-one communication, but they can also see it in their Google Calendar. So if they do miss my 2-week in advance call, well, they still know, hey, they're still on schedule. If they happen to miss my Friday before call, hey, we're going to be there on Monday, they still know, okay, in my Google Calendar, they're going to be there on Monday. My secretary, my office manager, everyone has access to this calendar. So if a customer calls up the office and says, hey, I can't remember, when you guys are starting, well, now she has access to it too. Looks like the first week in October. Would you like to speak to Joe about it? No, I was just wondering. So everyone has access to this Google Calendar. Now, we also use, but it actually starts a little bit before. So it starts when the customer calls and says, hey, I'd like for someone to come measure my yard. I don't know how much fence I need. I don't know what this should cost. I'd like you to come out. We use a scheduling software called TimeTap. It helps us. It links in with the Google Calendar, and it can text the customer. So you say, I want, Monday works for me. Monday at 9:30 works for me. You'll get a text confirming Joe with Ozark Fence is going to be there Monday at 9:30. You also get an email reminding you, hey, Monday at 9:30 you have an appointment. This does a couple things. One, it puts it on your radar. And so from the email, you can also add it to your calendar. So now you have a reminder. 48 hours in advance, you get an email reminding you that we're going to be there. 24 hours in advance, you get a text that we're going to be there. And my office manager also calls to speak with you in person. We're going to be there. Is it still convenient for you? Life changes on an hourly basis. Perfect case in point, I wasn't planning on getting in a wreck this morning, but it happened. So we give the customer every chance possible to reschedule a time that's convenient for them, so that we're sure that we're not impeding in their life.
Sure.
And reminding them, honestly, that I'm going to be there. This does a couple things. One, it lets you know we're on your calendar. Two, you now have a cell phone number that you can communicate with. You now have an email number or an email address that you can communicate with. And you have my office number that you can communicate with. So you have 3 lines of communication that are completely open for you to contact me, so that we're starting off this relationship with clear and open lines of communication. And then moving forward, if you decide to move forward with the fence, we reiterate those in that you'll get a confirmation email. Well, after the project is completed, you get a thank you email. Hey, I appreciate you having me out. If there's any questions, feel free to let me know. You also get a text to the same effect. And then usually I follow up about a week afterwards on the, hey, how's the proposal look? Are there any questions? Is there any way I can help? Like I say, if anything, we over communicate. But that's a problem I'm really good with.
Yeah.
So TimeTap is something that we've found is incredibly helpful for us. So we obviously are a home service type business in that we go to people's homes. One thing it does is it helps us calculate drive time. So if we input your address, it will automatically look at what we already have on our Google Calendar, where I'm supposed to be at what particular time, and it will give my office manager or my receptionist, either one, times at work. It calculates drive times and efficiencies. So what we found is instead of making 4 appointments a day, I can make 6 a day. Because now, it used to be we just did every hour on the hour and we hoped it worked. Not a great plan. There was a lot of times sitting in parking lots, the jobs were 2 estimates were 5 minutes apart. Well, they're every hour on the hour. At the most, an estimate takes about half an hour. Well, so I'm sitting in a parking lot for, whatever it is, 20 minutes. Well, that's not super efficient.
Sure.
Let's try to make it more efficient. And so by calculating drive times, it lets us do six touches a day instead of 4.
Yeah, what a great way to kind of increase the efficiency and provide more value to the market, I guess.
Absolutely.
Via the systems that you've created. That's good stuff. Okay, so take us back to 20, or let's go back to your 20-year-old self. What would you tell, 20-year-old Joe, if you could give him some sort of advice?
Oh, we would have a really long conversation. More than anything, it's just everything. I mean, everything's going to work out. Yeah. So 20-year-old me was really worried about what the future looks like. I had to have a plan. I had to work the plan. I had to. As long as you put good into the world gives good back. It all cuts back to that. And probably the communication. I talk about that a lot because it's that big of a deal. Communication in all aspects of life. It's not just my business. It's also, so I've got some kiddos. I've got a little girl that's 9, and I try to communicate with her as much as possible. Now, 9-year-olds don't communicate the best. How was your day? Good. Okay. So what was good about your day? Tell me something that happened really good today. What was your favorite part of today? Finding ways to communicate is always key, and it keeps me involved in her life, And I know, and with a 9-year-old, listen, friends change daily, but I know who her friends are, and I know who she has difficulties with, and I know that what's going on in her life. With our customers, by over communicating, it's kind of the same thing. I know what's going on in their lives. My customers sometimes over communicate with me on what's going on in their life. So sometimes I learn a lot more about my customers than I probably need to know to build their fence. But so 20-year-old me, I say get really good at communicating. Get really good at forming relationships. We build fence, but we don't just build fence. I really feel like my customers aren't someone that we build a fence and we forget. I form a relationship most of the time. I form a relationship with my customers. I get to know them really well. What's going on in their life? They know what's going on in my life. So when I see them 2 years from today at a home builder show or a lawn and garden show, am I going to remember them on site? Probably not. But once we do the remembering who each other are, I say, oh, that's right. Now you have a son that goes to, Schofield Elementary, which is where my daughter goes. How's he doing? Or I remember you saying, we built a new house for you, or we built a fence for your new house. How's the house doing? We try to form relationships.
Sure.
Businesses that run purely on transactions, while they work, they don't fulfill anything. They really don't. When you look at brands that start relationships, that's meaningful. Like that, you're really doing something then. As a consumer, I relate more to brands that start a relationship with me than I do the company I buy soap from.
Sure.
Me and Dial Soap have zero relationship. But guess what? That means if Lever 2000 is having a sale on soap, I go buy Lever 2000. Or
Sure.
I'm using these brands just interchangeably. But if I have a relationship with the brand, then also that makes my buying decisions a little bit better too. If I form a relationship, I say, well, maybe I have a particular relationship with Head and Shoulders shampoo, and because they've reached out to me and in some way foster a relationship. Well, now if some other shampoo company comes out with a new product, well, I'm probably not as likely because me and Head and Shoulders go back,
Sure.
sort of thing, and we apply that to the fence company too.
Well, there you have it. Communicate, over-communicate, create relationships, put good out into the world. Joe, I know you're busy, and I want to be respectful of your time, but I so appreciate you being here on the podcast.
I appreciate you having me. I've had a really good time.
Thank you for listening in on the first episode of the CX Architect podcast. We would love to get your feedback on this episode and hear how you liked it. You can head over to cxarchitectpodcast.com to find the show notes and a place to leave some feedback. Please let us know what you would like to hear more of, and if you liked the show and believe others might benefit from it, we would love it if you would share it up or leave a 5-star review on iTunes. That will help more people discover the show. And with that, I appreciate you and thank you for listening. Have an awesome day.